Hello, my name is Trey Zachariah, and my topic of discussion for today is about Willie O'Ree and how he overcame diversity to become the first black player in the NHL. Willie O'Ree is a former Canadian professional hockey player who was born on October 15, 1935. He played as a winger for the Boston Bruins and was often referred to as the Jackie Robinson of ice hockey. Since he started his career, he dedicated his life to changing the perception of hockey from a white sport to fostering diversity and helping younger players overcome obstacles. I decided to do my topic on Willie O'Ree as his story really stood out to me. When I was younger, I was playing minor hockey. I also experienced some minor racism and racial oppression while I was playing. I got into a lot of fights because of the racist remarks that were being used towards me, and I felt that this experience that I had would relate to Willie O'Ree's story, and it made me really interested in learning about how he changed hockey for the future generation in front of him. While researching about Willie O'Ree, I came across a documentary by TSN on YouTube which discusses Willie O'Ree's life and the obstacles he overcame to break the color barrier in hockey. This documentary interviews how he really feels about experiencing racism and the social stigma while being a hockey player in the NHL in 1955. As well as addressing all of the changes that have happened since the start of his career. During this documentary, he mainly faced racial oppression as hockey fans and players alike would spit and use racial slurs towards him while he was playing, just because of his complexion. It is quite upsetting to see that he had to experience this type of oppression and injustice only because of his skin color in a sporting event. What I also found while researching is that even today, there are still instances of oppression and racism in hockey. For example, Jonathan Ismail Daibi, a 24-year-old black defenseman, has been playing semi-pro hockey for almost a decade now. He experienced racial oppression after fans hurled racial insults at him and harassed his family, making him walk out mid-game. Devastated and angry, now he's trying to raise awareness for the racism that visible minorities athletes face today. While racial oppression has seen a decline since the 1950s, it still remains a major issue in the NHL and society in general today. As we have been made aware by the Black Lives Matter protest in 2020 for George Floyd and many others, there continues to be inequality as Black people live their lives every day with fear of being treated unfair and being treated differently from other colors. Many sports such as basketball now have Black Lives Matter on their courts and their shirts, as people around the world are made more aware of how serious the inequality is. However, more changes definitely need to be implemented today in order to ensure the justice is met. Experiencing racial oppression can be extremely difficult to handle, as I experienced a lot of that when I was a child playing hockey. Most of the time I was targeted by other players on other teams and got into many fights because they were using racial slurs towards me. Coming from an ethical background, I related to the struggles that Willie O'Ree experienced to a lesser tone, which inspired me to write this about him. In general, this assignment has taught me that the NHL Players Association hasn't fully addressed these instances of racism to where it should be in today's age. And I personally feel like the NHL is lagging behind other team sports like the NBA and is not current with today's social standards. People are still coming out and speaking about their injustices, but it seems that the NHL has not made enough strict fines to review this tone. This documentary really made me remember my past experiences and memories of racial oppression while playing hockey. The fights that I got into because someone was using racial slurs towards me were uncalled for, to say the least. I believe in equality and justice, and I believe that everyone deserves to be treated fairly despite their physical appearances and ethnicity. The picture I drew is of two hockey sticks crossing each other with a puck in the center. There are also two hands coming together with words spelling "Together Against Racism." The hockey sticks represent the sport of hockey and the team that Willie O'Ree played for, the Boston Bruins. The hands reaching together is a symbol of collectiveness towards the sport of hockey, and that we should all have a fair chance of playing in the NHL regardless of our skin color. The one black hand represents the proportion of black people in the NHL. It is a symbol showing that very few people in the NHL are people of color. The Boston Bruins colors are black and yellow. Meanwhile, I chose to represent racism by showing two different skin colors uniting together to make a positive change in the NHL. The hands are not fully touching each other as there are still racism and racial oppression within the league today, although it is far closer together than it was back in Willie O'Ree's days. When it comes to empathy, this art piece represents the struggles that Willie O'Ree went through, along with many other visible minority groups as they had to fight throughout their entire life for their freedom. This art piece is a message to show the changes that have been done, as well as represent that they still exist and need to be addressed today. In conclusion, I believe that Willie O'Ree is one of the most influential hockey players of all time, and he was the first black man to play in the NHL. His hard work and determination has allowed the entire ethnic minority group the ability to play and foster diversity and allow hockey to represent culturalism and collectiveness. Thank you for taking the time to learn about Willie O'Ree.